Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Fest. I'm the Economic Development Director for the city. We'd like to thank you all for coming again today. This is our fourth meeting. We have one more on June 27th. That'll be our last one that we have. So as usual, there are some refreshments and sandwiches in the back. I'd like to thank our state representative, Hilda Santiago, for joining us today, and our Economic Development Chairman, Michael Rody, for joining us today, along with all of you. Thank you for coming into our beautiful redesigned library. I think this is great to have things here because it gets to show people, we get to show off a little bit on the library, and I think we might have a couple people here with us today that are heavily involved with this. So we're going to get started. I'd just like to let you know that you have a pamphlet in front of you that has the information on our speakers. Ricardo from C-Diff, great friend to the city of Meriden. Benucci Andy, again, also a great friend to the city of Meriden, helped us out tremendously. And Fiona Stewart from Green Bank, again, a good ally for the city of Meriden, helping us get us through some difficult projects that we worked on in the past and opportunities in the future. So I will turn it over. I've got to keep talking. I have no comedy this time. Last time I was here, I had the black eye because my dog hit me. So I don't have that this time, and I won't bore the. I've already told the wedding story to a certain group, so I won't fill everybody in on that. But you know, this is something that we haven't done in the city of Meriden before, and Medco, myself, and the Chamber of Commerce thought that this would be a good idea, and what better speaker to have than Dale. Do you want me to do like your bio? Because I know that can go on for hours.
Could you get the tech guy?
We need the tech guy. I'm not going to bore you with a speech until we get the tech guy. That's way too much. So bear with us for.
Laptop, but I don't. It's not transferring over to.
Tom can't get the Medco meetings to come up on it for sure. All the time. Do you think we should?
It should be on there. It's plugged in the HDMI cable.
And Becky's the director of our library and is doing an excellent job here with all the programs, but she's not responsible for this part. I just want to clarify that, so we can't tell her that she did it.
This should work. It was working. Yeah. Is this a touchscreen? No.
I cut their budget. They weren't allowed to get that. We're working on that. This will be the part where we edit.
Oh, wait a minute.
It is working over here. Oh, no worries. So now, fire up your PowerPoint. Let's see.
There it is.
Okay, but it's not.
Is he sharing?
Hold on. So there it is. You keep it going off.
It keeps the, yeah.
Go out, come back in.
All right.
Don't shut it off. It'll re-update itself again.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, you're out of here.
I'm out of here. Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Wow.
I stretched as far as I could.
Don't touch it. I'm the only one who can touch it from now on. Okay, well, welcome again. As Joe said, this is the next to last session, strategic planning session. We've had a lot of good information from the past 3 sessions. This is on fundraising and grants. So fundraising is a critical issue for all projects related to economic development, as we know, but so are grants, because a lot of the folks in this room work for nonprofits. And as a matter of fact, some of the folks in Meriden have taken my grant writing class. And so it's always important. When there's not enough money, it's important to be a good grant writer. And when there's a lot of money, it's really important to be a good grant writer to get that money. But businesses always ask how they can get assistance through grants or other government programs. So a lot of the speakers today will cover those issues. In the last session, if you recall, I'm all for Klempt here from this experience. Or for Schimmel, for those of you who know Yiddish. The last time we were here, we had an extensive conversation about brownfields. And Benu from DECD, Department of Economic and Community Development, will be covering the programs about brownfields and related to brownfields, which I know Joe and the city have received lots of funds and for valuable projects. And some of the things we've talked about, like the mall, like Number One King, like all these locations around town need some assistance in some way. So hopefully by the end of this session, you'll get some ideas. And I'm going to start calling up speakers because I have allergies and I'm coughing. So the first speaker today is from Meriden Zone Community Economic Development Fund. Is going to talk about programs they have for small businesses and probably some other stuff. So just for speakers, if you could just hold your questions till they finish their presentation, then feel free to ask questions. Come on up and just tell me to change slides when you're ready. He didn't follow his own direction.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Ricardo Vidal. I'm the Director of Lending for the Community Economic Development Fund. First, thank you for having me. I took a long drive here from East Main Street. Actually, I was glad to say that today we just finished closing a loan for a Meriden-based business, so we always love to see that result from the work that we do. You can go to the next slide. Thanks. So we are a nonprofit. I've been with CEDF since 2015. There's three components that we provide to small businesses in the state of Connecticut, in what we call targeted communities, Meriden being our home base in one of them. We provide business loans, business education, and business advisory support, which are three components that are very important to growing businesses. Next slide, thank you. So the majority of our clients are businesses that have not been able to get business loans. Thank you. So the majority of our clients are businesses that have not been able to secure traditional bank financing. So that could be young businesses, startup businesses, or some businesses that are in more challenging industries like maybe restaurants or some contractors that may have had some years of declining revenue or maybe lost some profitability. So what we do is we help them provide them with education, business advising, and capital support. We do SBA microloans. SBA microloans are loans anywhere between $2,000 up to $50,000. These loans have been significantly important to the economy in small businesses, in my opinion. We are the #1 SBA micro lender in the state, and these loans are pretty flexible when it comes to the rate, especially now being below prime. They're fixed at 7.5%, and these loans can be used for different sources such as inventory, equipment, working capital, and even to refinance some hard money loans in some cases, or high interest loans. Next slide, please. The other product that we offer are larger loans, such as line of credits or term loans over $50,000. So our loans can go up to $250,000, and they could be for a period of 10 years if need be. We are actually one of the lenders of the Connecticut Small Business Boost Fund. If you guys haven't heard of that, that is one good product in Connecticut. It offers one of the lowest possible rates you can get. That rate is at 4.5%. It is fixed. So it is definitely a good loan out there if your business is operating and you can cash flow. This is a good alternative for financing as well. Next slide. The other product that we offer is commercial mortgages, small businesses that are looking to buy their own commercial property. They do need to own at least 51% of the commercial property, And these are significantly, these loans can go up to 20 years, and they can go up to $500,000. So this is for your typical scenario where you have a small business that's been leasing a commercial space, and now they're ready to actually buy their commercial property. Again, it's all part of the advising that we do and the education that we provide so they can get to this level. But it is, from my experience, it is one of the best success stories you can have with the business owner when they can actually go through the process and acquire their own commercial property. Lines of credit. So lines of credit are very important to a lot of businesses, especially seasonal businesses or businesses that have seasonality, or they have cash flow needs that sometimes require access to capital. Lines of credit can be up to $250,000, and usually within 2 years we review whether we will renew the line, extend it, or sometimes we offer a repayment schedule on lines of credits. So our business advisory services, it's again very important. All of our clients receive a business advisor, no cost to them, and I just provide the services that they would require, whether it's on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. But the business advisors are always available for our clients. The one difference that our business advisors have is that they all have owned their own business. So that is very important in terms of supporting business owners. And the education, we have education that's online, we have education through podcasts, and just a lot of education that we acquire over time, and then we put it on our website, and also seminars as well. Our team, we're a small team, we're a small nonprofit. I am the director of lending. I have a loan officer, an underwriter, and a coordinator. And we also have business advisors that help us as well too on day-to-day operations. So this is the best way to connect with us. We have an intake form on our website, or you can call me directly at that extension if you have any questions about the products and services that we have. Any questions?
Since there's no question, does the microloans also include the nonprofits?
Yes. Yes, a nonprofit can also borrow from CEDF, correct.
And you usually help people with, I've been there I met with you guys, and you do have a lot of great information.
No, thank you.
Especially when I signed up for the email where classes that you're offering for free most of them.
Yes,
Get
yes.
those. So you also help folks who put a business plan together.
Correct. We guide them. We don't actually do the business plans because if their intention is to get a business loan, we don't, it's kind of like a conflict of interest, but we do give them the proper channels to get the business plan started and completed, yes.
And you also worked with the city. We did for our nonprofits that take advantage of CDBG, and we opened it up to others for accounting, to learn how to do
Yes.
accounting and books, and even though it's nonprofit, how to run it appropriately. So
Absolutely. Financial literacy is something that we promote all the time, yes.
both by
Oh, yes, yes, and our staff is bilingual. So, yes. Se habla español.
I guess the question I have rather is for the room. And the question is, you've heard some of these, and we'll hear Green Bank, I guess, also talking about their offerings. But of the businesses that you have seen, what kinds of financing arrangements do you think are needed that you maybe don't see on this? Or is it a matter of just the information not getting out to small businesses? Any thoughts on that? Well, that's something to keep in mind, because as we put together our work plan based upon all of these sessions we're doing, obviously we have to. It's nice to be able to decide that we want to both business development, but also we're going to need the tools to do that and have the right mechanisms in place that we can match the financing to. Yeah.
I didn't have a nonprofit, so let's open a nonprofit where you know how to write narratives. And,
this class will grant writing. And that information is very important for someone that's gonna start their own business. Because you can't write something that you're not gonna understand.
Right.
And as Hilda mentioned, the amount of classes that CDIF does offer is very, very extensive. So I would encourage anyone, just as someone did, just sign up for their email. I know we get 300 million emails a day, but it's just one more, and it's got excellent information in it of different things that might be going on one month or the
Right.
next.
It varies from marketing to maybe some other items. I mean, you can find, there's something for everyone, I think.
There's got $36 billion of ARPA funds, rescue funds from the Fed. We've been distributing it out. We're down to about the last $1.5 billion or two. A number of the projects have come up short as far as the bids are more than the anticipated cost they put in the application. Is it possible that this program could be used to make up the difference between what ARPA can pay for and what the application calls for if the bids are open?
When you say this program, do you mean our loan products?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Did you mean, when you said this program, were you referring to our loan products?
Well, yes, right.
Well, so currently, right now, our business loan products are only to LLCs. So we only lend to small businesses. So I'm not really, I don't follow how that would apply.
Most of the ARPA recipients are small businesses.
Oh, okay.
So they would have subsidized probably part of the project.
Oh, yeah. So so in other words, it's sort of like a participation project. Yeah, we can entertain something like that, yeah.
One other question for you.
Sure.
How does your underwriting differ from what a bank would do?
Significant. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do any loans. Thank you very much. Yeah, so what we do is, so for example, we can work with clients that are, that may have a lower credit score. So if you, for example, you go to a bank, even if you have a very successful business and your score is in the low 600s, it's pretty likely you're not going to get the loan. So we go behind the credit score. So we have a lot of our clients have probably had medical situations or maybe life situations where their scores are in the low 600s or even the high 500s, and we can still proceed with the loan. We go behind the score, maybe what was the story behind it, and if we get comfortable enough with the situation and how they're going to improve their credit, then they become a client of ours. So that's one of it. Also, we rely on projections as well. So when we're looking at a small business that has probably had a loss in 1 year, and their projections make sense to us, they have the product line to rebound, we'll take that into consideration, which is something that you probably won't see in a lot of banks.
What happens with first time, the first timers, one's just opening business?
Yeah, that also, it goes, so we do a lot of startups. And actually, I have to say we are in a very unique space where we actually have funded and we have a good number of true startups. Is it come, sign, and you're ready to go? No, because starting a business, it's a big commitment, like a lot of businesses know. So there's a lot of that back and forth communication. Your business plan, there's a lot more review of your business plan. What is your experience in this industry? So we have a track record of helping true startups.
Do you have a lot of non-performing loans in your portfolio?
We do not. Thankfully, we do not.
We'll also be around for questions after go around, but we got one more.
I just want to mention that I know that I went to visit you guys. I think that a lot of people don't know that you're on the east side. They don't know about the products that you have. I think in Marion Green Small, and Joe and I have talked about this, is that sometimes you have to have that person-to-person contact. I don't know how you have to outreach or hire somebody to do it, I don't know. But I know that when I go around to the businesses and I introduce myself, they don't know what funding is out there. And usually when I send SAMA, which is the Spanish American Merchants Association, and I call them, they will do a face-to-face visit. A lot of these businesses can't come to meetings like this because they're the sole person that's running the business or a family member. There's 2 or 3 people just themselves, and they can't take the time to go to a training or do a Zoom meeting. They have to do it on their time. So I think that's one of the things that might work in the future, I don't know. But I know that SAMA does it a little bit different, and they do get a lot of our businesses in Meriden because they do that door-to-door, that face-to-face contact with the business. Maybe they go because I asked them to go, maybe. But people don't know that you're really in Meriden.
No, and I think you're right, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that's something that we've been kind of talking about for the last couple of years, and a lot of the events that we do, presentations, are usually pretty late for that same reason that you mentioned, because business owners are not free till like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We do visit our client. Every client that we do visit, but right, it doesn't happen for every phone call that we do. But it's something that we do look at because we hear that throughout the state. No matter how much we say we're here to help, there's a lot of businesses that have never heard of us, and we've been around since 1994.
And if I just may give a quick comment, I'm Roseanne from the Mid-State Chamber of Commerce, and CEDF is a great partner with us and very involved with us, and we have collaborated on projects from the beginning of this year. Celeste Tapia at your office worked with us in offering small business workshops in Spanish that we held, and we plan on doing some in English as well. And we also did, to promote that, some outreach that we visited, some of our area businesses, but we're certainly always excited about working with you, and thank you for being here.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much, and we do love working with the city, and very much thankful for the invitation today.
Okay, and again, we're going to be, we're all going to hang out afterwards. Also, this is being recorded, and if anybody needs the slide deck for some of the details that Carla went over, we can easily provide it. The second speaker is Fiona Stewart, who's a senior manager in investments for the Connecticut Green Bank. There are lots of programs out there regarding energy efficiency, and she's going to talk about a couple in particular.
Sure. Perfect.
Scroll up the slideshow.
Do I need this one as well?
No.
This mic?
Oh, you need the mic, yeah, the right.
Yeah, okay. All right, we got both.
Yeah.
All right, hi everyone. Fiona Stewart Jimenez. I am a Maloney grad. I grew up in Meriden. You might see me at Our Lady Queen of Angel Parish. I recognize some faces here. But can I start with a show of hands on who is familiar or who has heard of the Connecticut Green Bank? All right, there's a couple, that's great. So we'll kick it off with that. We can move forward and, yeah, next one. Yes, thank you. So the Connecticut Green Bank, we are a quasi-public agency. We've been around since 2011. And in that capacity, we are allotted a small amount of limited public dollars, and we use that to attract private capital to invest in green solutions, so renewable energy, energy efficiency, and we focus on residential, businesses, and then institutional and kind of infrastructure as well. And so our vision really is a planet protected by the love of humanity, and a mission to confront climate change by accelerating investment in our Connecticut's green economy. So we can move forward. Thank you. And our goals, we kind of have 3 goals that we look through. We leverage limited public resources to scale up and mobilize private capital to invest in this green economy, more green jobs, all of that. pursue investment strategies to advance transformation in investing in green, sustainable measures, and then also supporting our own sustainability goals. And then specifically, and I think part of that we talk about today is around strengthening Connecticut's communities, particularly vulnerable communities, to make the benefits of a green economy inclusive and accessible to residents, families, and businesses, and municipalities. Next slide. Great. So I'm here specifically to talk about CPACE. It is our commercial property assessed clean energy. PACE as a product exists all across the US, but we have a number of different building solutions outside of CPACE. We also have our Connecticut solar PPA program, a power purchase agreement, and solar roof lease, where that is accessible by municipalities, nonprofits, boards of education, and then also state properties as well. But we'll dive into CPACE. CPACE, the financing is available for commercial properties for all levels of different clean energy upgrades. The funding is 100% low cost, long term, up to 25 years. The repayment mechanism is a little different because we use a senior benefit assessment lien placed on the property, so similar to your sewer or water lien on the property. And then the assessment stays with the property regardless of ownership. So one of our projects that we've done here is 290 Pratt Street. And if in the lifetime of that gets sold off, the benefits are staying with the building. So property owners don't have to worry that the investment that they've made to their building is going to be lost when they move. So it allows them to invest in their property, but also move on when the time is needed. And whoever buys the building, who's received the benefits of their investment, will assume that assessment lien and pay for it. And so we see CPACE addressing a number of different key barriers: lack of funding, a near-term plan to sell, as I was just mentioning, not enough ROI, or there's kind of split incentives. One of the CPACE you can put on affordable multifamily as well. And then uncertain savings and deferred maintenance. And so we look at this plus side column over here. Apologies, I'm gonna get out of the way. I'm standing right in front of the presentation. And so one of the big things around uncertain savings, we've got two underwriting processes. We've got a financial underwriting, but we also have a technical underwriting. And the technical underwriting assures that we have an SIR, or a savings to investment ratio, of 1 or greater. So we are not going to enter into a loan with a business or a property owner for a solar project or a HVAC overload without making sure that that investment, that loan, is actually going to see savings from day one. So that is what the savings to investment ratio is. And because of that, you have kind of the view of there's a positive cash flow in year one. You can pass the savings on to your tenants. And then the financing up to 25 years, and there's the repayment obligation transfers at sale, as I mentioned, if you're looking to move soon. Next slide. So luckily, Meriden is one of those towns that participates in the CPACE program, and we are almost at all 169 municipalities in Connecticut. We're not there yet, but we're making our way there. And in terms of eligibility, any sort of commercial building is eligible for a CPACE loan. Unfortunately, municipal or state buildings are not eligible, but we do have other programs for that, and you can talk to me afterwards if you want to learn more about those programs. And then in terms of project types, we have a retrofit of existing buildings, and then we have a relatively new product of the CPACE CPACE new construction, so ground up new construction, total gut rehab, and also repositioning. And here, as I mentioned, kind of all different properties, so anything that's considered commercial, and that includes all of these: retail, nonprofit, office, kind of general other, and then industrial as well.
Hello?
Almost. Well, I can talk about this slide a little bit more, I suppose. Oh, there we go. All right, good. Great. In terms of eligible saving measures, so anything that are energy saving measures that are affixed to the property itself. So that includes solar, it says solar PV, so solar photovoltaic, that's the energy created on the buildings. Any sort of new lighting, HVAC, all of those things. Solar thermal, that's not that popular, geothermal, all of that. Any sort of related measure. In the case with solar PV, very often we have an older building, an older roof stock. So if you need to replace your roof, that can be looped into the financing for CPACE. Also, if I parked in the back right next to the EV charging infrastructure. I'm saving for an EV, but I don't have one yet. But you can include that in your CPACE loan. And it's exempt from the SIR requirement. And then kind of new for us is resilience. We were just expanded, our mission was just expanded by the legislature to include resilience, so that any sort of climate change adaptation, nature-based solutions, and fortified designations, and those are exempt from SIR requirements as well. In terms of ineligible, I think you'll get these slides so you can kind of read through those. But the big thing, the two things that I kind of want to call out are things that could be easily removed or don't save energy or create renewable energy. They do not qualify, and if the project does not have a savings to investment ratio of greater than 1, does not qualify.
Well, I'm going to break my own rule on the question.
Sure.
On the resilience, because this is a newer thing, can you do site work?
Yes. I believe, yes. It is kind of brand new for us, so I haven't gone through the underwriting on a project that includes it, but yes. Yeah.
Flood zone.
Yeah, and that's something that we have also started to include in our, I mentioned kind of our commercial. We have a Smart E, which is for residential properties as well, for homeowners of 1 to 4 units. And resiliency and kind of asbestos remediation, all of that is included underneath the residential side as well. For this, we just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of different customer stories and successes that we've had underneath CPACE. And for this one is the Damari Pastry Shop. They had installed around a 76 kilowatt roof-mounted solar PV system. It cost $246,000 to install, but that is a loan over the course of 20 years, and it's projected to save more than $20,000 a year. So that's a real goal for them, and that will allow them to kind of expand their business and do a lot more with their business and with their customers. I'm not sure if anybody's had their pastries. They are based in Stamford, so it's a little far from here, but they're delicious.
What are your interest rates?
So that's funny you should just ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. We are currently, our interest rates are between 5 and 5.9%.
I'll save all of my, I have like 5 questions.
I hope I can answer them. The main program that I work on is the PPA program, but the Enco Chemical, they are based out in Mystic on a former Monsanto site, and they are in, we partnered with Connecticut Innovations in terms of investment with them, and they are an R&D company, a startup that are focusing on making environmentally friendly pesticides. They've had a number of different energy upgrades, and we can go to the next slide. Thank you. And so for this, the broad scope that was included with this project was retrofit lighting, upgrading their chillers to high efficiency, insulation and controls, and then solar PV. And you can see that the amount financed was quite a lot, close to 3.4 million, but they're expected to save $338,000 in the first year. So over the course of that, I believe this is 25 years, I can't quite remember, but there's quite a lot that they'll be saving over the course of many years. And there you go. So we have our savings to investment ratio of 1.58. And, oh, this one is actually, it's 15 years. I didn't underwrite it, so. But the interest rate for this project, as you mentioned, was 5.5%. And one of the key things that we wanted to kind of highlight in our real success on how we've been able to grow our projects is partnerships. We partner with a lot of different contractors, chambers of commerce, different businesses all throughout Connecticut. And partners sent ENCO to us like really early in the process as they were thinking about doing this energy upgrade. And we worked with their mortgage lender really early. One of the big things for a CPACE loan is we are a senior benefit assessment lien, so we ask the mortgage lender to subordinate to the CPACE loan. And for the most part, we have done really, really well. The only total no that we've gotten is on SBEA loans. They will not subordinate on that. And that's across the United States. That's not just in Connecticut. And then in terms of contract, oh, sorry, if we can just go right back. CPACE, so our contractor team, we've got a number of amazing contractors all throughout Connecticut, and we are looking to expand that more. The more businesses that we can connect with, the more contractors that we can train on CPACE, it means that they can use this as a tool to grow their own businesses as well. So if you have any, just please send them our way, and we will train them on CPACE, engage them, and try to make sure that this can be, we really see this financing and all of our other financing products as a tool for our contractors to get more customers and grow their businesses. And then in summation, we have over 400 properties in Connecticut have used CPACE over the course of the past, we started CPACE in 2013, I believe. And as I mentioned, up to 25 years in financing terms. We've ranged, the CPACE loans have ranged anywhere from $30,000 to nearly $14 million. And we've worked across all different types of properties. And then it works really well in tandem with tax credits, so the investment tax credit, utility incentives, and other equity streams. And I think that's it for me. And so Fiona Stewart, I am a senior manager, and then Peter, who I believe was supposed to be here giving this, he's really focused on CPACE, but I can help direct you to anybody, and then also if you have questions around our PPA program or our Smart E residential program, I can help with that.
So just a point of clarification, I think I know the answer, but when you say the assessment stage of the property, so
Yes.
when you sell a property, you have loans, you have to pay off your loans.
Yeah.
Do one sale.
What's that?
Do one sale conversions.
Right. So here, the new owner just continues
Yep.
to own that assessment.
Yes.
And because of, it's an assessment, the whole issue of subordination has come up multiple times in conversations I've had about CPACE, but it seems like it works out most of the time.
Yes.
I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah, no, I would say most lenders in Connecticut are very familiar with the product by now, so they have subordinated to.
And the other issue is the city assessors, in the beginning, did not you, had trouble with this because there was more work in their office to send out an extra assessment, but that seems to have calmed down.
Where do the bills come from? Do they come from you? Or do they come?
So it actually has recently changed. So we used to do it through each of the towns and based on their billing cycle. But now the Connecticut Green Bank does this directly because we heard all of our tax assessors and we heard that it is a lot to add on to their extra work that they already do. So we took that feedback and we brought it in-house.
But that's a very good move.
Yeah.
I have one more question, and I don't
Great.
need to dominate all questions. But in terms of sort of minimum threshold project, you know, minimum investment in the CPACE, the product that will come out of the CPACE investment, is there some rule of thumb that businesses and developers should be aware of? You can't do like a, you know, a two-story small commercial building, or can you?
So our minimum loan amount is around 30,000. So that's the lowest threshold. In terms of if you're looking to do solar for other projects, we have other products that are available that are able to go a little bit lower. Or so our power purchase agreement program, or roof lease, that is, if you're not familiar with the term, a power purchase agreement is an agreement with a building owner and then the Connecticut Green Bank, where we own and build and operate the system on your building, and you pay a PPA rate, an energy rate to us. Or if you're looking at our roof lease program, we provide a lease amount to the building owner. So we lease your roof and we give you a payment every single year for that benefit. And in those cases, you're actually not making any sort of investment on your building because you're not putting the money down because we own the property, or not the property, the system, the installation. There you go. And I'm happy to chat about. I could talk about those all day. That's what I do.
I'll say about $30,000. If the roof is an eligible expense, replacing the roof itself is part of it.
Yes.
That 30 will go quick.
But the roof costs will have to be factored into your SIR calculation. So the savings have to cover both the installation of the unit
Yes.
and the roof replacement. So that's going to limit how much.
Yes. Yeah. And one thing with that, there's also, I mean, in those instances, we've also been able to include it. Often in those instances, you also have really old building mechanics and lighting and all of those things, and all of those measures. It's not just solar or not just lighting. You can, as for the ENCO project, there is a number of different things that you can roll into one project. So we really are able to do a lot with that. Any other questions? Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get you later.
Okay, our first speaker is our good friend, Benu Dani, who is the director of the Brownfield program at the Department of Economic and Community Development. Let her take it away.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. I don't think I'm a stranger to the city of Meriden, and neither is my program. Our funding is, supporting a number of properties, right? 116 Cook Avenue, 85 Tremont Street, 1 King Place, 24 Colony Street, the Meriden Hub, the Mills at the Common, almost every property around this downtown area because it is a brownfield. Yeah? Yeah. So what is the case for brownfield development? I'm guessing you covered it in another session, but less development pressure on raw land, on green fields, more properties on the tax grant list, historic preservation, job creation, economic growth, housing, pollution cleanup, public health, downtown revitalization. So the next slide, please. So if you look at the phases for brownfield redevelopment, there's the planning phase, then the assessment and cleanup, and the redevelopment, that is getting to the end use or getting to the redevelopment project. And my program, the Office of Brownfield Remediation Development, is supporting the planning and assessment and cleanup. But we have other programs for redevelopment as well. And you can take your time and look at the different programs that we have available. Next slide, please. So the types of funding programs coming from the Office of Brownfield Remediation Development, we have the grant program for remediation and limited assessment. The maximum that you can apply for is $4 million in any competitive round. The minimum that you need to apply is $200,000. We have a parallel loan program for the same purpose, remediation limited assessment. The same amount you can apply, and the minimum you need to apply for is $500,000. And then we have an assessment only program. And if you are a land bank or a council of government, you can apply up to $500,000 for multiple projects and sites. And if you're not a land bank or a council of government, you can apply up to $200,000 for any project or site. And then we also have the bar planning grant, where the maximum that you can apply for is $200,000. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, ours is a competitive process. We have 2 funding rounds. We are trying to be very regular in these rounds. So we are trying to make announcements in January and July. And the applications are due in March, April, or September, October. And decisions are made in May, June, or November, December. In the recent past, we've been announcing about $25 million of availability in each of these competitive rounds. And we kind of open up all of the programs, except for the bar planning grant program, which is open every other year. And this amount depends upon how much is approved in the governor's budget and the SBC allocation. Recently, we've been getting approved $35 million per year, and we are even expecting that amount to increase. And to access this funding, one needs to submit an application form. So when we make these announcements, you need to submit an application form. For more information, definitely visit our website, which is www.ctbrownfields.gov. So something more about our remediation and limited assessment grant and loan programs. So the primary mission of our office is to bring back brownfields to economic productivity, and our office is set up as a one-stop resource. So our process, as I mentioned, is a competitive process, and we have a multi-dimensional scoring system. And some of the items that we emphasize on is shovel readiness in terms of having a cleanup plan, a remediation plan, shovel readiness of knowing what your financings, what your sources of funding are, what your capital stack is, and also shovel readiness in your redevelopment plan completeness. We also look at the community and economic development impact. We look at what you're bringing to the table in terms of private leverage, and we also look at applicant experience. And in general, we have realized that grant projects with a developer and an end use are more successful than ones without those, and they are also more cost efficient. And so if a municipality or a client comes with a developer for a brownfield redevelopment project, they have a higher chance of receiving an award. So you may wonder what is the difference between a grant versus a loan. The main difference is the primary applicant, the eligible applicant For a private entity cannot come in for a grant. You have to be a public entity or a public quasi-entity. In terms of what collateral we are expecting for a grant, we are expecting either a mortgage lien or a completion guarantee, but for a loan we are requiring both. Next slide, please. Now, what are some of the eligible uses for our remediation program? You can use it for limited assessment, planning, and environmental consultancy work. Use it for soil and groundwater remediation mostly, for abatement, hazardous material or waste disposal, and demolition activities. You can also use for groundwater monitoring, institutional and engineered controls, and attorney fees, which is not DCD contract related. Next slide, please. Now, we do have some threshold requirements. One is your site needs to be a brownfield. It has to satisfy the brownfields, the state brownfield definition. The applicant and the potential development partners should not have any direct or related liability for the conditions of the brownfields. So that is something that we scrutinize. Then the applicant has to show site control, that it has a purchase and sales agreement or has somebody on the team that is the owner of the site. And also, if you have a private partner, we make sure that the private partner is registered to do business in the state of Connecticut and is in good standing, which means no pending lawsuits, liens filed, and tax arrears. Next slide, please. So if you're, for the loan program, as I said, private entities can apply for the loan program. So you have to be a potential brownfield purchaser or a current brownfield property owner. And we look for at least a 10% match for the loan program. And previously, we used to have forgivable loans, and we are no longer offering forgivable loans. So that is a point that needs to be noted. And the duration is up to 30 years, and the rate is 3%. So,
Sorry, Ricardo.
yeah, I beat you to it. So, yeah, and the debt service coverage ratio is 1.15. Then this is public funding, so there are strings attached, and like I said, mentioned previously, we require, even for the grant, mortgage lien or completion guarantee. We also place a negative pledge, which is basically, you need to get the approval from the DCD commissioner to sell, lease, transfer, assign, or in any way encumber the property, and this is on the land records for 10 years. We also place a use restriction covenant. And the next slide, please. We have the same requirement for the loan program as well. And because it's a loan, we require both the completion guarantee and the mortgage lien. And this collateral is held until the redevelopment project is completed. That is not only the cleanup, but also the vertical development. Next slide. Then I just wanted to cover the prevailing wage rule. This is something, the 31-53C requires any funding that comes through my office, the DECD office. If you are accepting 1 million or more, you'll have to pay prevailing wage rates. And the strictest interpretation is you have to pay prevailing wage not only for the state funded portion, but for the vertical development as well. And this determination is made by the Department of Labor, and they use many factors to determine that particular, whether the prevailing wage rates apply or no. So that is something to keep in mind when you accept. So when you hear prevailing wage, you think about a public works project, you think about a public project, but the 31-53C actually applies to also private projects. So that is something to note. Next slide. We also have an affordable housing policy rule where if the end use is proposing 10 or more units, you have to set aside some units that are going to be deed restricted for 30 years. You have two options, either 10% affordable to households making 50% of the area median income, or 20% affordable to households making 80% of the area median income. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to bring to your attention this public-private partnership that we are encouraging. The loan program, is eligible, like private entities can apply for the loan program. Private entities cannot apply for the grant program directly, but private entities can partner with grant eligible entities like municipalities. Meriden has used that model a lot. Example, 85 Tremont Street. The city of Meriden applied, but they are partnering with a housing developer and using the grant funds to support this private development. Next slide, please. Do I have time, Dale?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So why is DCD encouraging this? There are many reasons. One being to open up the grant option for private entities. The public entity can access the state OBRD brownfield program, but the private cannot. And so when both partner, we can leverage on the private capital. And also we see that brownfield cleanup strategies developed in tandem with the redevelopment construction design are more cost effective. So previously our model was the municipality cleans the municipally owned site using state dollars. Then they go out for an RFP for developer. And I said, on my image, I put site redevelopment with a question mark, because we are seeing that many times the state spends money to clean up the brownfield property, but those properties still lie vacant and nobody is coming along. So instead, we are going for the model, which the next slide, please, where the municipality or the client does some planning work, then enters into a public-private partnership, goes out, seeks a developer, then comes to us, gets the money for cleaning up the property, and the private entity puts in the capital for the vertical development, and we put in the capital for the cleanup dollars, and it's a much better success rate. So this slide shows the advantages. It opens up the grant funding option, support of municipality to move project forward, helps with cleanup costs. The state and the local entity help to tackle the regulatory issues, and helps choice of brownfield versus greenfield. And how are we doing that? DCD allows the grant pass-throughs to a private entity. We are offering options for different types of site ownership, and we are working with client team to match solutions to the type of solution, and we are allowing the grant receiving entity to make decisions on the type of pass-through. Now the assessment-only grant program, it's a much smaller program, but it's a value-driven program, because this assessment activity is sowing the seeds for brownfield redevelopment. Knowing what the issues are on the property is very valuable. It gives clarity to a potential brownfield purchaser to figure out how much is the cost, and you can understand what the cost-benefit analysis is. It attracts the developers, and it's good public information, and also the municipality can react to what can be developed on that property.
Yeah, developers like certainty.
Yeah, yeah.
Not scary stuff they don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very valuable.
Yeah.
And the eligible uses of funds, anything that is assessment or planning. If it's pure planning, 25% of the grant funds can be used for planning. Next slide, please. And the criteria that we use to score the application forms are clarity and assessment needs, the economic and community development impact, locational benefits merits, and developer interest. Next slide. And just wanted to very briefly cover the bar planning grant program. I believe Meriden has used the bar planning grant for, I think, the historic downtown project, yeah. So this program is more if you have multiple brownfields, you know, you are doing some planning activities, market demand studies, and prioritizing you know, which brownfield should be tackled first, or some kind of strategy. You know, many communities have used this bar planning grant to kind of bring that momentum for brownfield redevelopment in their neighborhoods and communities. And the eligible uses are any kind of planning activities, and you can also use for limited environmental site assessment work, 25% of that. And this is my contact information. For additional questions, you can send email to our email inbox, brownfields@ct.gov, and you also have my contact information if you want to contact me directly. Thank you.
So last time we met, we talked about brownfields, we talked about land banks as a tool, and I said the ratio of investment was like 8-to-1. Sam, you said 12-to-1.
Said 12, I think 12 or 13.
And so this is really important, particularly in Meriden, if you think about a site like One King, where it's going to have to be some brownfield work done on that building one way or the other, whether it's remediated or demoed or partially demoed. What's the real number that you see in your data?
It's on an average, it's Sam is right, it's 1 to 13, but recently, because we've been with this new administration, we've been emphasizing so much that we're not taking any projects that are just coming for cleanup. It's going up $1 to $25 also.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's $1 for every $1 of their investment, $25 of
Yeah.
development, private investment. These are great programs, particularly for Meriden and bigger cities around Connecticut, even small towns. Excuse me. Question?
So one of the things you mentioned is that you prioritize, like you have a lot of brownfields in Meriden. So where is that priority list? Like where is the list that says what our brownfields are and where we are in the process and when they're going to be done, or if we're going to do anything with them?
So some of the stuff is within planning, and some of it is within my office as well. You know, if we want to prioritize right now, it's the next phase of One King and 116 are the top two. We have a lot of little ones that we are working on. We took 85 Tremont, 85 Tremont is a great example of one that wasn't on our radar for a long time because it was privately owned. And we did take advantage of the new way of doing it. We're bringing in a developer to come in. I don't believe that if we didn't hook up with and participate with the current developer coming into 85 Tremont, that building would remain the same as it is today indefinitely, because without funding, and you just mentioned how the resource has been going up, and now it's up to 21 to 25, and we started off way back when it was down very low. That building would just stay there because without a capital stack, and we've talked about capital stacks before on this, and we have 3 partners here today that fit into that capital stack. That project would have never gotten off the ground.
For the sake of information, the capital stack is all the levels of investment, reverse loans, equity, everything.
But Tremont is really our newest example, and it's going well, and that we think that's going to be a huge success.
I think that Pam is really looking for where are the brownfields located, which is basically in the downtown area or any.
For project completion.
Oh, okay.
Is there, like you said,
Yeah.
you said top 2 on our list.
Yeah.
But they're in the downtown area.
Yes.
Yes.
Because anywhere where you have like new departure, anywhere where you have factories like where Tremont is, they used to dump everything into the brook or whatever waterway that they had. So that's where a lot of the brownfields is. So that's why King Place and 116, the H factory was done at one time. All of that is all getting cleaned up. And there's also money going into the winding of the culverts because that's all brownfield and because of the flood. So I used to sit on that flood control implementation a long time ago with Mike Brody, years ago when I was on the city council. But it's mostly wherever you see there's a factory that is dumped, and they because back then there weren't environmental rules and everybody just did whatever. Downtown where the hub was, where the mall was, that's one of the reasons why Canberra's and the other place moved out. They went to Research Parkway.
Radio frequency.
Yeah. So it's like, that's where a lot of the brownfields.
We also just received almost $1 million EPA grant that we mentioned last week for, not through the state of Connecticut, but for very similar, that's directly through the federal government, but for very similar programs and projects. And that is for redoing the area where the old
Church and Morse.
Church of Morris building used to be, to finally take out that ugly-looking foundation, but we could only do things, we could only get so much money and so much time, so you take advantage of, again, we talked about stacking finances, you stack what grants we can get at what time to do X part of the project, knowing that we're then going to go after more and a further downstream process. But as Hilda mentioned, and Mike is she said, is very well versed on this, every time we do flood control projects, every time one member is involved, whether it's DECD or the EPA, or both if we're extremely lucky, to get what we have currently done right now, and every one that we have done within the last 5 years has also been funded by portions of this. If the city of Meriden had to do this on our own, we would be in extreme trouble. We are lucky that we have these programs to be able to do it, and we are aggressive with that fund to do it.
And then investors, the people who own, or developers or businesses or whoever locates there, can put their money into something that's equity for them. You know, it's an investment, it's what they're getting taxed on. They're not getting taxed on contamination. They're not going to want to pay taxes on contamination.
One question is on what's been the uptake or the interest by private developers in their loan program? It seems that there's a lot of barriers and a lot of hoops to jump through there, and I'm not sure where that would where it's actually been used, other than perhaps in New Haven and Hartford.
The loan program, I don't think there are too many hoops, but previously the loan program was a forgivable loan program. Once they did the work, it was completely forgiven. So it was basically a grant program. So now, since we've made it a pure loan program, it's less attractive, and we are encouraging this public-private partnership where we are allowing private entities to access a grant through partnering with the municipalities. That is the only barrier I feel. But so the interest in the loan program is definitely lower now. But those entities that don't want to have anything to do with public entities, like, there are folks who don't want to, they like grudgingly take our money. So those kinds of entities still come and take our funds.
Did you have a question?
I have just talk about how interconnected everything is. 85 Tremont Street used to be the home of Talcott Machine, which moved up to and built a building on Research Parkway that Art bought, and then we bought from Mark. So it's just a legacy of how interconnected things.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Based on the questioning, is there a public site that identifies these problems here in Meriden?
Most of our brownfield sites are.
Is it public record?
It's a public record that's kept at City Hall. I do not believe it's on it's in planning, but I don't think it's on our website. off the top of my head.
About every other year, the state DEP sends a list of contaminated properties to all the chief elected officials. It's often not up to date because it's complicated. When a site is in the middle of remediation, there's forms being filed,
Yeah.
a sequence of events that are going on. The other thing that some communities have done, UConn has a really good program where they have students do inventories of brownfields. I've used this program before, excellent program where they'll come in and they will do all the updates on all the brownfields in the community based on all the information online. They go and research the records. And then this way, Joe, somebody like Joe in Joe's position would know. And Attorney Welsh before pointed out that at the end of all these sessions, there's going to be a work plan developed for this partnership between Medco, the city, and the chamber. Sorry. And certainly brownfields would be like a big thing.
Yeah, the reason why I had asked that question was, prior to me working in Pat Chamber, I was working for FEMA, and I did work on brownfield projects. I was a compliance officer.
You know that.
And that's why I was asking, because when I wasn't working in Connecticut zone, I was in Region 2. So over there, for the state, Region 2 is totally different.
Right.
It was mostly New Jersey and.
Right, we can do it like.
And it was a public record, that's why I was just.
So the other thing to point out with Fiona talking about the new climate change aspect of Green Bank, CPACE, there's a lot of collaboration that goes on amongst all these folks in the world. Because we bring up a good point about FEMA, because FEMA is very active, they have great programs, and now you're on this, you know, so it could be a product that has a multitude of these. This is what the capital stack concept is. Besides the private investment, it's all the partners in the process. This is going to even be more the case during climate change. More awareness.
So for inventory, we do have a state brownfields inventory. It's on DEEP's website. Includes all the sites that we funded or EPS funded or we've provided liability relief approval. But the no list is exhaustive because some private owners don't want to declare that their property is a brownfield. So we have that issue.
Would you say that the takeaway from this, for our purposes, is that because we have a brownfield site, Meriden, most of our.
Yeah, we love Meriden.
Yeah, we got work to do.
Yeah.
So we will be dealing with it, but so the paradigm then, the method of going forward then is that we have to get the city involved for that the PPP process, in order to have the public process, that it's not likely to be the private loan portion of the program. It would most likely be fee structures rather than, so coordination with Joe's office then becomes vital in any project.
And then some self-promotion here. We also have land banks in Connecticut. There's 2 or 3 of them. Of course, I have to do that. That can play a part in getting control of the site while all this comes together. Because as we discussed last week, how long does a brownfield take? Some of you will have grandchildren by the time. But you know, they take 2 to 10 years. I mean, there's a wide range, whether it's a building or land.
And Meriden has done that beautifully. When the Meriden Hub project was done, you went out for RFPs for all those different sites. And for some reason, some of those sites got taken by private developers, some others didn't. One King Place had a developer, the developer walked away. So things happen. So it's the market demand. Some sites are attractive for a certain reason, and some others are not.
Yeah, then you have the influence of, you know, inflation. That was just over the last couple of years. Interest rates go up, so developers, you know, what they're financing is not what they envisioned in the beginning when they first got involved 2 years prior. So there are factors that definitely impact that.
And that, we had a development in town that received a grant from DCD, but the cost of the actual construction went up so high that there was no, and graciously we gave them extensions, but there was no, as we mentioned on one of the sheets, the ROI, and what the factor has to be. And at the end of the day, with the inflation and the cost of for construction, made the return on investment negative, which doesn't work on the ECD side, and especially for those of us in this room that are business owners, that doesn't work on our side either. You can't fund something not knowing right off the bat that you're not going to get a return on your investment. So then we went to different stats to try to get that done. There are a lot of factors to look at as we do these projects.
A lot of us who are in the industry, we're always learning new things. We know the programs, we know how it will apply, but something happens in a project I've never encountered before. That happens at every single project. So, we're all learning. There are brownfield working groups. Sam is very involved in the statewide brownfield group. So to the extent you want to learn about it, it's a really important thing in the community, in Meriden in particular, to get familiar with this, because it's going to be a priority item on the work plan. It has to be, because but Meriden has a good track record also. So anyway, we're going to, I just want to say a couple more things today. We're going to, speakers, if you hang around a couple minutes, folks, and I want to thank Ganu for,
Thank
he just
you.
came off a really long flight.
Yeah, I'm jet lagged. I'm very badly jet lagged.
She needs to go to bed. So thank you.
Thank you.
I don't need this. No. So the final session, and I'm going to speak out of school here for a minute. I did talk to Leanne about this, and a little bit with Frank. The last session is going to be on June 27th, it's a Thursday next time, on business retention and expansion. We have an excellent group panel already committed. We'll be hearing about it, same time, same place. And then after that, we're thinking about convening some informal groups with you guys. And we need to basically have something to present to you, like a summary of all these sessions. Okay, so you can't remember what happened 6 weeks ago. I know I don't. So there'll probably be some community meetings, but we have to produce something that you can react to. Which summarizes the sessions in a succinct way to get your feedback and to remind you what we talked about so far. Because the brownfield issue is a huge issue. We also talked about colony, 24 colonies, and the fact that there's vacant space. We also talked about demographics. We also talked about what investors are looking for beyond the brownfield issue. So there's a lot of things to sort of pull it together so it makes sense, so there could be a plan that can be put together by the group. And so this will continue throughout the summer. Did you cover?
I just had a question. Years ago, before all the development that happened downtown, recently we had work groups that came together and we talked about what we wanted Meriden to look like, and we looked at different pictures and facades and voted on them with little clickers, and we just did a lot of work back then. Is any of that coming into play here?
A lot of that came into play to get what we did in the center of town. That was, of course,
Right.
me being there. I think I was actually on the other side when we were doing that. But yes, through Wayne. That was the driving factor to get us to that point. There has been further done off of that information, because to be honest with you now, that information is outdated and we need to come back and do stuff that's over 15 years.
Yeah,
I think I'm close to being, I hate using years, because you think 10, it's really 20, or you think, it's 5.
One of the items was we're gonna have like benignity,
Yes.
so that tells you how long ago it was.
Well, any kind of a plan that's a 10-year plan is you don't anticipate COVID, inflation, rising interest rates, which do vary from time to time. So, you have to have a plan that in my recommendation of doing plans for so many years, you keep it to 2 or 3 years, so you can easily achieve things, even if some of these projects have long legs to them. And before I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all the speakers for your time today. And, there might be some follow-up questions. Hang around for a few minutes afterwards.
Indeed. Lots of food in
Oh, there's definitely food back there, including cookies. My favorite.
You can't say to an Italian, there's lots of food back there, but there's a good amount of food. Just go lots, just go get it. There's very nice sandwiches.
There's no money out there, All right, thank you for coming, and you've been a great audience.